afternoon, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Today we discuss how six-time Super Bowl champion, yes, you know it, Tom Brady will be wearing a different uniform on opening day for the first time in 20 years. Brady signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a 2-year deal worth $50 million, with every single penny of that being guaranteed. I'm your host, Luca Vitale, and joining me again is Ethan. All right, Ethan, I'm going to ask you this question. This is a very interesting question, I find. Pretty interesting. Does Tom Brady have a chance to win a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I'm a Brady hater to the end. I'm indeed a Dolphins fan, so I've had to deal with him for all 20 years. So it's great to finally have him leave, and to see him leave is great for me. But him at 42 years old, the old man, there's always concerns when a 42-year-old quarterback is your your quarterback that you're hoping them to win a Super Bowl. That's not the greatest idea, because 42 years old, you should be an uncle at this point, like sitting in your home in Florida just getting a nice tan. But Brady has been a man. He's been whatever is in that TB12 stuff that he has. Let me know so I could stay in shape for a little bit longer. But for him to be 42 years old and a quarterback and getting paid $50 million for the next 2 years is already great by himself. But that doesn't really solve the problem that the Buccaneers really have in quarterback. Yes, Jameis Winston has been tragic. He went 30 for 30. That means 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. 6 of those were pick sixes. But and those were the deciding factors in most of the games. But just getting another old quarterback. Yes, Brady is the GOAT to some people, but I don't sincerely believe in. But he's old. He's on the decline, and that should why would you be giving a man $25 million when he's on the decline? That's just not a smart idea, in my opinion, for these Buccaneers to do it. I mean, yes, the Buccaneers have plenty of assets on their team that obviously attracted Brady to come to Tampa Bay, but even with those assets, I don't really see them making it anytime soon.
All right, well, you're not wrong with him being on the decline. I mean, many people consider him the GOAT, I get that, but he is on the decline. But if I had to rank him in like my top quarterbacks, he is definitely still in my top 15. He's definitely still.
Oh, he's definitely top 10, top 5, if not.
Okay.
No offense. I mean, I'm a Brady hater, but he's definitely one of the better quarterbacks.
All right. So it is a tough question. It is a tough question. I'm not going to lie. Because it's only 2 years, and who knows what happens in 2 years with this team. I mean, anything's better than Jameis Winston at this point. I'm going to say they have a shot. They have a shot at winning the Super Bowl. I'm going to say they can make the playoffs, but winning the Super Bowl is going to be tough, especially if you have to go up against Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, all those guys in the AFC. It's tough. So let's start with Tom Brady here. That he went 12-4 last year, and people were like, "Well, yeah, he went 12-4 in New England. That's sense, right?" Tom Brady, I have said this 1,000 times. Even without this, he was compromised of weapons last year, with the exception of Antonio Brown week 2 against the Dolphins. I don't care what anyone says. He was compromised of weapons, with the exception of Julian Edelman. That's it. I mean, N'Keal Harry, Jacoby Myers, and Matt LaCassie. Who? So, yes, exactly. So he was compromised, and this man, who was 42 years old, went 12-4 and completed still 61% of his passes, okay? That's not exactly the best, but it's exceptional when you have offensive weapons like that. He passed for about 4,100 yards last year, threw for 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. If you did not know this fact, I found this fascinating. Running backs had the second most receiving yards after Julian Edelman. Really? Really?
Wow.
That just proves to you that the Patriots, just like the 2018 Bears, were aided by their defense. They were aided by their defense. And, I mean, their defense is monstrous. They were number 1 last year of overall, because you got Stephon Gilmore, you got McCourtney, and that's the reason why they went 12-4. They didn't score a bazillion points last year. They didn't light up the radar gun at all. Now, you get to Tampa Bay now, right? Tampa Bay has a very good offense, in my opinion. You got offensive weapons in Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, O.J. Howard, Shaquille Barrett, and a great coach in Bruce Arians. Don't get me wrong. Now, My problem with the Tampa Buccaneers is their defense. They were 29th with points forfeited last year with a 15th ranked overall. Now, that tells me something. The 30 interceptions that Defensive Player of the Year, aka Jameis Winston, even though he's not a defensive player, but somehow was ranked that.
Yes.
The bad field percentage position he put the defense in. Yeah, he threw for 5,100 passing yards. Congratulations. But you're telling me you're throwing 30 interceptions, and yet they somehow still finish 7-9. If those 30 interceptions are gone, there is no way that team would have been 29th ranked for points forfeited. Now, we get to the offense. They scored about 29 points a game. That was third in the league last year. So they averaged about, Jameis Winston averaged about 302 passing yards a game, which is first in the league, surprisingly. And they have a very pass-heavy offense, which I think Tom Brady will fit in well because he does not exactly, New England, they did not exactly run the ball that much. I think they really ran it a bunch. For me, my concerns about Tampa Bay, like I said, is the defense. The offense, I'm not concerned about because of all the offensive weapons they have, but getting to the Super Bowl, it's going to be tough, let alone winning one, but they will get in the playoffs, which I think will make any Tampa Bay fan happy, especially since the last time they were there was 2008 when they lost against the Giants. You go ahead, Ethan.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with your defense problem. I mean, despite they did, according to Football Outsiders, they had the top-ranked defense in the league. That defensive front is unbelievably stacked. I mean, Shaquille Barrett led the league in sacks with 19.5 sacks in the last season. They also still have Levante David. They still have Jason Pierre-Paul, JPP. They have Ndamukong Suh, who's coming back for one more year, who was about to retire. That defensive front can stop anybody if you try and run it. The only problem is they're like the back part of that defense. The cornerbacks and safeties are just tragic. I mean, yet if you looked at the different, they only had 12 interceptions to Jameis Winston's 30 that he had. Anytime when it's that big of a difference, it's very hard for the team to really individually win games. And the defense is not really like you could easily throw. And as you said earlier, they were like the 29th ranked defense league point-wise is because they gave us so many points because all the teams had to do was just launch the ball and the wide receivers could catch it over them because the cornerbacks can't cover for their life. They are not very good, and that leads the teams with the high-powered offenses, as I said earlier, to just take advantage of it and score high up on them. Yes, they can't really run the ball that often, but with teams that are relying more and more on the pass and creating more systems that run through the pass and less through the running, or like less through the run-type offense, like it's going to be harder for this team to succeed later in this thing. And with it, every time I say that the defense, yes, most of the time they win championships, but when a team is struggling this much with their defense, it's hard to have an amazing offense win. I'm gonna go back to Brady for one quick point that I forgot to add is that what if he gets injured? 42 years old, who's going to be their backup? I mean, there's been reports that Jameis Winston is trying to get out of Tampa Bay, but nobody wants him because 30 interceptions. That's very alarming. And as many of the people said, or many of the coaches in the front office said, if Bruce Arians can't fix Jameis Winston's interception problem, no one can. So I don't really see as what happens if Brady gets injured. So they're stuck with Jameis Winston. Can Jameis Winston carry them to the playoffs? And this is all just a what if, but it's very likely with a quarterback that's 42 years old. What happens if he gets hit once hard? He's going to be going down because his old bones are getting he's getting there. He's getting some white hairs at this point, but he's hiding it with all his new hair gel or whatever the heck TB12 is coming out with. And I don't know. I mean, yes, Brady can survive getting hits, but another thing I wanted to add too is that he could just lob the ball up most of the time, but that doesn't also work most of the time either. I mean, he does have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, who's Chris Godwin's number 14 now for all those who don't know, because Brady had to have his TB12 thing. Or he had to keep his number, but Godwin, he has, as you said, mentioned earlier with Mike Evans, all these weapons on this team. I mean, their rushing offense is not as crazy as the Patriots offense. And Brady coming into a new system, yes, he's open to learning the new system, but we'll see how quick Brady can get a hang of it, and we'll see how healthy he could stay throughout this entire thing or entire season. if the season does get pushed back.
Yeah, you definitely bring up a lot of good points of the what if with Tom Brady. I actually have no clue who their backup is right now because like Jameis Winston.
It's supposed to be Jameis Winston, but we'll see if Jameis Winston's able to sneak his way out of there. And who knows if there was gonna be the backup there.
Yeah, with Jameis Winston throwing 30 picks last year, 30 picks or interceptions. I mean, you trying to find a team to sign you after that kind of season, I don't think that's going to happen necessarily. And like he told ESPN about something about his eye like having near blind side or something. I don't think it has anything to do with the fact of throwing 30 interceptions.
I mean, he had eye surgery, so supposedly he's supposed to be able to tell the difference between red and the other team's jerseys, but we'll see if he's able to fix that problem. I mean, the thing is, Jameis Winston can come up clutch. As much as we hate him, there's sometimes he came up clutch. He destroyed the Los Angeles Rams, who were supposed to have one of the better defenses in the league, in the Coliseum with the Rams. I mean, like a player to go all the way there, that's just a clutch win for himself. But then he also has other games where he throws 4 to 5 interceptions and he can't hit the side of a barn with the football. But having Jameis Winston as a backup, I don't think is good enough for this Tampa Bay team. I think they should either find a way to trade him sometime, like we said with the draft, try and find some assets, maybe even get a move up in the draft, steal a quarterback, who knows? Because at this point, yes, Brady's going to be here for the next 2 years, but at this point, I mean, Tampa Bay's going all in. But what happens after those 2 years? I know we're going more into these what ifs, but if the Buccaneers don't win the next 2 years and Brady eventually retires, if not Brady doesn't retire next year, what's going to happen to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Are they still going to have a chance to win the Super Bowl? Probably not, because this is going to turn into, in my opinion, it's going to look like the Jacksonville team, where they're going to look like the best team in the league and come out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden just disperse to every other place, and they're going to fall apart. But that's just my opinion. You could have your opinion, but
yeah, I mean, you're not wrong about how Jacksonville fell apart. You're not wrong. I mean, they fell apart in less than one season. So with Jameis Winston, I like how you brought up the Rams game. Definitely. That was like mid 50s to high 40s game. I believe that's what it was. You cannot deny the fact. No one can deny the fact that Jameis Winston played a great game. Okay. I mean, he had 5,100 passing yards for a reason. I mean, I can never doubt Jameis Winston getting the job done in clutch moments. I mean, the Rams had a very good defense. He destroyed them. So it's just the picks that gets me. That's it. Otherwise, I think he could be a pretty good quarterback. But it's just the interceptions that gets people, which is why Tampa Bay decided to go out and sign TB12. I mean, I mean, who wouldn't want to sign him? But like you said, if they have to think about, because this is an all-in move. It's 2 years, and they haven't won a Super Bowl since, I believe, 2002. But they have to think of something quick, or it's not, or Tampa Bay and getting their dreams. So that's just how it's going to go.
They're going 100% all in on this, and we'll see what will happen, because this is a lot of risk. High risk, high reward. We'll have to see.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching this episode with Ethan and I talking about Tom Brady 12. And you guys have a nice day, and I hope you guys come back and watch another episode.